about today?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, today I plan to leave the choice to you. So what do you think?
Oh, how about the story of Joseph?
Oh, that's a good choice. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. Story of Joseph Ruiz. Can you get us Bibles, please? There's 5 of us. Thank you. The story of Joseph.
Go to Genesis chapter 37.
We're there?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go. The story of Joseph.
A long time ago, in a land far, far away, there were 12 brothers born to a man named Jacob. Now the 12 brothers' names were Reuben, Dan, and Naphtali, Simon, Levi, Gad, and Asher, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And there were 2 younger brothers. One was Joseph, and the other was Benjamin. Now when these brothers woke up, they all started explaining their dreams to one another. Now Reuben, Dan, and Naphtali all had dreams about owning the nicest horses in the land, racing them far and wide. Simon, Levi, Gad, and Asher had dreams about flying over the seas and the lands, flying everywhere. Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun all had dreams about being kings and having many worshipping them. But Joseph, on the other hand, had a different dream. He dreamed that his brothers were worshipping him. And this angered his brothers, and his brothers were very upset, very angry. And Jacob was very disappointed with him. Now the brothers were outside playing, having a great time with one another. And they were enjoying the company of each other. But then, as they turned around, they saw Jacob beginning to approach them. And they wondered what was the occasion for his wonderful visit. But then Jacob motioned to Joseph to come over, and out from his robe he pulled a wonderful, beautiful robe of many colors. And while Benjamin was happy for Joseph, the other brothers were envious, seeing that Jacob clearly liked Joseph the most. The brothers were mad. They saw the robe and they were very jealous. Now Joseph put on his robe and began to show it off. He really clearly enjoyed it. Now the brothers were outside working, and they were toiling, and it was very hard, tedious, long, boring work. But then, out of nowhere, Joseph began to arrive, and he was running because he had really great news to tell them. But the brothers, upon seeing Joseph, all dropped their tools, and Joseph realized that they were mad. So Joseph ran away, but the brothers were after him, and they wouldn't let him go. Trying to catch him, the brothers chased him. When they finally cornered and captured him, they began to tie him, began to tie his hands up. And then after tying him, they threw him into a well, a very deep well. And after a while, they left. And Joseph was alone in the well by himself.
Joseph's brothers were troubled, and they felt really guilty with what they did to their brother Joseph. And they were thinking about an idea to get them out of this trouble. And out of nowhere, there were coming 2 merchants going to Egypt. So they had this idea, and they head to them saying if they want to take Joseph as a slave, so they can sell him to him. So they agreed on buying Joseph, and they sold him for 20 pieces of silver. They got Joseph out of the well. They untied him, and they took the colorful shirt out of him, and he went with the merchants to Egypt.
Now Jacob and Benjamin were at home, and they were talking and having a great time, telling jokes and enjoying one another's company. But then the brothers decided to return, and they looked oppressed and worried and scared. Jacob and Benjamin, not knowing this, didn't know what to expect. But then Jacob saw Joseph's robe of many colors, and seeing this, he was heartbroken and grieved and troubled. He saw it, and he couldn't believe it. The brothers began to feel bad, worrying if they had done the right thing. They tried to comfort Jacob and Benjamin as they were crying, but they didn't know.
After Joseph's brothers sold him to the merchants, the merchant took them to Egypt, where he had 2 slaves, and he showed both of them to Potiphar and his wife. Potiphar checked out the first servant, and he didn't like him. He was looking at Joseph, and then he started asking his wife about him. Potiphar's wife gave him approval about Joseph. Then he took him as a slave at his wife.
Because Joseph did not obey Potiphar's wife, Potiphar threw him in jail. Now there was a cupbearer and a baker, and they both had dreams. Joseph interpreted the cupbearer's dream as him returning to Pharaoh's palace quickly. The cupbearer promised to remember Joseph. However, the baker's dream was interpreted as him dying soon. Now Pharaoh was in his palace when he awoke from a bad dream. He needed someone to interpret it, like a sorcerer. But the sorcerer did not know. Pharaoh was furious, but then he remembered the cupbearer telling him about Joseph. He brought in Joseph to interpret his dream. Happy that Joseph interpreted his dream, so he gave him his robe. Now Joseph was the second greatest in the land, and he was in charge of food distribution. When he heard that there was a famine in Canaan, he saw his brothers coming. He realized that they were his brothers, but he did not tell them. He motioned the brothers to leave, and he gave the money to the soldier to put in the bags. Joseph called the other brothers back in. He then asked them how their father is doing. They said, well. Then he asked them if they had any other brothers. They said one was dead and one was with their father back home. Then he kept Simon with him and he gave food to the brothers to go back home until they returned with the other brother.
Now when Joseph's brothers ran out of food, they came back to Joseph to ask for some more. This time, however, the brothers kept their promise and brought their youngest brother, Benjamin, with them. Now Joseph was so happy to see Benjamin that he sent his soldier to bring Simon back to the brothers. Now the brothers were rejoicing that Simon was back. Meanwhile, Joseph gave his soldier his cup to put in Benjamin's bag. Then Joseph motioned for his brothers to come back. He gave them the sacks, and then he sent them on home. But as they were leaving, Joseph got up and stopped Benjamin, and he accused him of stealing his cup. Now when the soldiers searched the bag, he truly did find Joseph's cup. Much to everyone's surprise, Benjamin was going to have to stay with Joseph as a slave. But then the brothers kneeled and petitioned to Joseph to let them keep their brother. And Joseph's heart was broken, and seeing that his brothers had really changed for the best, Joseph got up and told them who he really was.
Joseph.
What?
The brothers were surprised and they embraced Joseph. And Joseph told them to bring their father to the land of Egypt, where they would all live happily ever after. Dreams about owning the nicest car. Joseph told his cupbearer and soldier to put his others, upon seeing Joseph, all dropped their distrust. When they finally cornered a well, they left, and Joseph was alone in the well by himself.
Out of nowhere, and they head to them saying if they wanna take Joseph as a slave so they can sell them. Buying Joseph, and they sold him for 20.
Did not know.
Now Joseph motioned to the soldier to bring, but then they promised and brought their youngest brother, Benjamin, with them. However, the brothers kept their promise and brought their youngest brother, Benjamin, with them. They brought their youngest brother, Benjamin, with them.
But when the sorcerer did not know, but when the sorcerer did not know, but when the sorcerer did not know,